So this, as everybody has clearly shown, is a pivotal point in our industry. So David, would you agree?
Yeah, fundamentally, I mean, I think this is a critical phase. Arguably, the brands that people sort of are left with in this period of time are going to be the ones that people really remember. But it's been fascinating to see the sort of reaction of the community with the guys who are on the call now and many others who are really sort of springing to people's aid. But I mean, we've talked a lot about the FinTech community really sort of springing into action in many different guises. But I mean, what do you guys think in terms of the impact? Why is FinTech jumped forward so much in this? Is it the fact we can because of the sort of technological advancements, or do you think it's more of a mindset thing? Francesco, do you want to kind of kick us off with that one?
Sure, I think it's probably both. Like we have a mindset of being doers. I think like we have this bias toward action to not just like sit idle, but we are master problem solver. And I think like that's the spirit of a founder. That's the spirit of every single team member that we have on board. We see a problem, we get excited, we want to crack it and deliver something cool. And that's what we do. So I think this is the spirit of the industry at large. And this is what I hear from many of you. And then there is the opportunity. And the opportunity is the fact that we are, let's say, playing with very powerful toys. Pass me this expression. We are all in a very interesting place of the technology industry more broadly, and we are all building, enabling, helping financial application, which is something that right now finds a huge fit into solving the economic crisis that I was mentioning before. Maybe I'm sure that there is another forum, another call with a bunch of maybe biologists and doctors, and they're all like hacking their way into the health crisis. But it's our role here to tackle the financial economical crisis. And because we have the capabilities, we have the ingenuity, and we also have, I think like this is a key point, we have the distribution. We have the means to actually reach the people, to reach the businesses that need this kind of help. And so that is kind of like the perfect match, the ingenuity and the opportunity of doing something. And I think there is a responsibility of recognizing what we can do, whether we can inspire broader action at government level and partner with other companies, with the government, with alliances, partnership inside of our industry, and deliver the solution in time, not just this very month, but in the next couple of years, because that's the time frame that we are talking about.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting, your point. I mean, everybody on the call is by nature an entrepreneur in terms of the company that they've kind of started. But I think in anything, when you start to see people put aside their own fears or their own problems, I mean, being an entrepreneur, everybody, you're all running your own companies, right? So, I mean, Freddy, you got to be careful what tweets you get tagged into, right? You kind of get dragged into some interesting stuff. So, I mean, what compelled you to get into this now, Freddy?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Francesco, the sentiments that Francesco just shared, I would echo very strongly. You know, the kind of doing culture. You know, with this project, we turned something around in under 48 hours with a group of people that grew from 2 or 3 to 50 in the same time. I'd probably add the motivation of being stuck at home with nothing else to do and not allowed to go outside as being maybe playing a small role as well, but ultimately, problem solving and having the technology and these powerful tools to get to the bottom of the issue. Also, it's kind of what we've all been preparing for, right? Like in a sense, a lot of these problems that we're now seeing, if you look at CBILS and the bottleneck that's taking place there, it's because of legacy, it's because of phone calls, it's because of paperwork. And everything that the people on this phone call and elsewhere are doing with open banking and other new technologies is around digitizing that and making it cost effective and better for consumers and faster. And so, what we're seeing is a rapid increase in demand for everything to be digital. We've just seen guys like Onfido raising these fantastic investment rounds, and in a time where previously the FCA, for example, has said that now you can do selfie verification, you can do non-wetting signatures on documents, all this sort of stuff. So the acceleration of services that do that in a digital way is just been amped up, and we're using that platform that we've all built in preparation for that to execute solutions that really quickly solve these problems with minds, as Francesco describes, that are in problem solving mode.
I mean, I completely agree with that. I mean, Nigel, you guys have been, busy sort of signing paperwork to sort of land your funding round and whatnot. So what sort of compelled you to sort of get involved to try and help solve some of these problems?
It's a good question. It's interesting, the paperwork thing, because the paperwork needs to be signed by deed, needs to be witnessed, and just as witnessing needed to happen, everybody was sent to lockdown in San Francisco. So it was like lawyers all talking to figure that out.
Can you do a deed signature signing over a Zoom call? Does that count? I'm sure you figured that out over the last couple of days, right?
I hid from the conversation and let sort it out. Just asked me, tell me what to do, and I'll do it on it. But it was they gave some leeway and signed some other paperwork that said we will sort this out when we get to a point when we can sort it out. But which also shows that how even somebody like Visa can make change in a hard time as well, because they had to change their processes for that. But back to your question, we have a director of financial inclusion, which is a colleague Ren, who's based here in London but is Singaporean. And one of the mandates that we set Railsbank up on in the very early days was we believe in financial finance and access to finance and financial services is a human right and not a privilege. And that we're also capitalists as well. So we worked out how to get the economics of that to work. So a bank account normally costs you about 10 to $25 to run if you're a normal bank with a balance sheet. With us, it costs you between 5-10 cents a month to run. And once you do that, you can create you can create a market, and you can create facilities, and you create infrastructure for people to build interesting apps to get people included into the financial system, because the economics work for everybody. It's why the telcos going into banking has never worked, because the economics don't work. So that's how we changed. So we've always had a social mind behind us. And we'd set up in our growth team, part of it is an inclusion mandate. And we were working on one in Singapore and Philippines for foreign domestic workers there. There's 11 million in the Philippines, and there's 2 million in Singapore, of how we can solve a bunch of the financial inclusion pieces there, because the banks really don't want them. And we were working on that just as lockdown came, and Ren was in discussions within the local community in Southwark, and was able to say, well, we'll apply the same stuff we were working on immediately now. So we were sort of by luck, not by, I'd love to say we thought this all through 2 years ago, and it was in our business plan and everything, but to respond to it. And we recruit people with that mindset into the company. It's part of the core values that we look to when we recruit people. So that's where it came from. It came from, we were doing something already. This accelerated it, and they just knuckled down. The actual whole thing was built in 4 days over essentially a long weekend, and the rest of the other ones were tidying up and working, getting Apple to agree with it.